It's cucumber season here where we are living. And so we picked up some cucumbers from the farmer's market and just the grocery store. Our own aren't ready yet, and we wanted to have some fermented dill pickles. So I have some washed up cucumbers here, and I'm just cutting off the blossom end, and I actually cut off both ends. It's recommended to cut off the blossom end because it can change the texture of the pickles, I think. We actually haven't experimented with that. We just cut it off. So the vine end is this one here, and then where it attaches to the vine, and then the blossom end is where the flowers develop. So this is the end that you want to make sure you cut off, but I just do both. Then there's no confusion that way too. So we have all our cucumbers ready, and we just have a clean mason jar. This one is a 1/2 gallon size. I'm hoping that we can fill that whole thing. And we just have some dill fresh picked from the garden. This is just the leaves of it, but it gives you lots of good flavor. And then a clove of garlic, or however much you like to put in. One is probably good for us for this. It's a good size clove. So we'll put that in, and then we just start sticking in our washed cucumbers. These ones are all different sizes. You can make sure that they're uniform so that they kind of ferment at the same time, but we're not being picky. We eat them pretty quickly. Might end up needing more than one jar. I just try to move them around to get as many in. I don't know if I'm going to get this one. Okay. Try to put the bigger ones in first. And then put it in. And you want to leave some space at the top for your fermenting weight. Okay, one more. And then what you want to do is cover it with your brine. And so this is some of the leftover that I had in the fridge. And all it is a quart jar of water and then 3 tablespoons of a good sea salt. So I'll just pour in my leftover from the last one in here. And I'll make up a new batch. Actually, I think I'll pour this into this one because there's still some salt left. I'll put in my tablespoons. You want to make sure you're not using iodized salt because it inhibits the fermenting process. I'm just going to stir that up. There always tends to be a little bit of residue or chunks in the bottom when I use this salt, but for the most part, it seems to mix in pretty well. So we'll get this just up to the top, and then the remainder can go in the fridge for your next ferment. And what I'm going to do, I have a jar from last week, and I need, my hands are clean, I need my weight. I think I need a towel under here, so I'm going to make a mess. You can buy fermenting weights that have little handles, like a little knob on them, that are easier to work with than these are. this is what I have, so this is what we use. I'm gonna need probably my knife. This can be a long video. Oh my goodness. I can't get that in. Okay, that came out, so I'm going to rinse it. And now this one we're going to put in to this jar. And you want to just push it down and make sure that the brine comes over the top. Really what matters most is that your cucumbers stay under the brine. They always have to stay under the brine. And then we're going to put on our fermenting top. This just has a little hole in it so that it can off gas. And it's a little bit rusted from these, but it doesn't really hurt that. You just tighten that down. And then this will ferment and end up looking like these. And usually I put it in a dish because sometimes they do spill out the top. They leak a little bit as they ferment. So I'm going to take one from, I don't know, it was 5 days ago. Okay, so you see that it isn't all the way in here fermented all the way through. That's pretty good. They could go a little longer. And it just kind of depends. You go by taste. If it's still really salty, then they're not quite ready yet. These ones have good crunch, but you can see right in the middle of them, they could use a little bit more of the fermentation to come through. Same thing in there. Some of the smaller ones that we had, these were actually quite a bit larger from the first batch, but some of the smaller ones in there will ferment quicker. So we'll eat this first pickle. I'll add a little bit more to this. You can do it without the weight. You can see here that these are not going to rise up. They're big enough that they'll just stay across the top. They won't float. So you can also use just a lid like this on here. I do have another weight. And I like to just rinse it. And this one usually makes a mess. Not too bad. And I have more of the fermenting lids. So we'll just pop that on there. And we'll check that probably in another 2 days or so. It depends on the heat in your kitchen, how warm it is, how quickly they ferment. You can do this all year round, but the cooler the temperatures are, the longer it will take to ferment. I'm going to check on the beans. These should be ready. I started these ones before the cucumbers. Uh-oh. Okay, that one has a little bit of growth on top. Just from something that was floating. The beans themselves, the beans are underneath, so they'll be fine. Why don't we just have a bit of the salt color that's stuck on top there. So again, we did these with dill and garlic. Those are much more fermented. They have a tangier taste to them, but have you noticed they're still very crunchy? So just because they're sitting in salt water doesn't mean that they're going to go all soggy, which is what I thought the first time, that I thought those aren't going to be very good if they're soggy, but they're nice and crunchy. The pickles are nice and crunchy, and they're really healthy for you. It's good probiotics in these, so it's good for, as they say, your gut health. They're tasty and refreshing. It's very easy to do. All you need is good quality salt, water, and whatever vegetable that you want to use to ferment. So I would encourage you to try it. You don't need weights. You just need somehow to keep your vegetables underneath your brine. And if you use a lid like this, you can leave it on a little looser so that it can overflow if it needs to a little bit. You don't need to go out and buy these things, and you can give that a try first. We did that first to see if we even liked fermented food before spending money to do that. So just give it a try and see how you like it, and enjoy the fresh and crispy taste. So because these are just the way that we like them, they are ready as they are, we're just going to put a regular lid on them, and they'll just go into the fridge. So that will slow the fermenting process. It doesn't stop it completely, but it slows it down considerably, and we will eat these before they get fermented to the point that we wouldn't want to eat them anymore. But they'll last in the fridge for a long, long time. We've kept pickles in the large half-gallon jars for probably more than a month, a couple months maybe, that we still really enjoy them. So they're not, you don't put them on your shelf like you would with regular canned pickles. You put them in the fridge when they're ready, and you just eat them up. So if you want to keep fermenting it, you just leave it out on the counter and that'll ferment quicker. But these are ready to go in the fridge. These two will continue to sit on the counter for another couple of days, and these will be probably 5 days, 4 to 7 days. But you just take them out and see if you like the flavors and if it's to your taste. So I think that's it. Have a good day.